Now to Part 2, clauses 12 to 14. We've had the philosophical debate. I ask members to debate clauses 12 to 14. So the question is that Part 2 stand part.
Mr Chair.
Claire Curran.
Mr Chair, there has been quite a lot of philosophical discussion. There's been a lot of heated discussion, and I think what you've seen in this debate is that there are some fundamentally different philosophical positions that are reflected in the House on this bill, and some very fundamentally important positions that go to the heart of what public broadcasting is in New Zealand, and content of public broadcasting and the content of broadcasting and how people receive it. And in Part 2 of this bill, you see the discussion around the re-screening of television programs produced prior to 1989. And what you're seeing is a claim that it is in the public interest that they be seen again. And I go again, Mr Chair, to the concept of public interest, because it is a critical concept, and it's something that shows the differences between the major parties and the philosophical fundamental divide that we have on these issues. While Television New Zealand has now launched its Heartland channel, which is about the screening of programs from our past, this is exclusively for Sky to screen heritage programming. And I think what we're seeing and what we've heard from the Minister in the House today is that this is the future for broadcasting in this country, is that the important programs that reflect our culture and our past and what goes to the heart of what we are and who we are is actually going to end up in locked up content that you have to pay to see. And that is a critical, fundamental issue, and it's something that I think that we do need to have a debate about. An estimated 2 million households in New Zealand don't get Sky. So that is quite a lot of households, really, when you think about it. It's about half. And the ones that do pay for it.
Order. I'm on my feet. Now look, there are 3 clauses. Spent sections of the Principal Act repealed, amendment to the Copyright Act, access to archives. That's what we're debating.
Mr Chair, I think it's point of order, Mr Chair.
Point of order.
Mr Chair, I'm talking about the archived works and their ability to be seen on television. I think it's quite clear that that's what I'm talking about.
I'll hear the member. Claire Curran.
Thank you, Mr Chair. And I go again to that public interest because when those heritage programs were made, we were all paying licence fees for public television, and the public had already paid for the production of those programs through their fees and through their taxes. So those programs are actually owned by the public of New Zealand, and they should be seen by the public of New Zealand and not just seen by some of the public of New Zealand through a pay television channel, which is one of the key issues that we are addressing in this bill with regards to the viewing of archived works and how they are actually seen by the public. And I note the comments that the member from the Greens, Sue Kedgley, talked about as to the future that we were looking at as a country in terms of how we were going to be viewing content, and the plan and the ultimate plan that this government has for us to be seeing content, and whether that content is actually going to be, whether it's archived, which is covered under this Act, under Part 2 of the Act, or whether it's it's going to be more than the archived works. It's actually going to end up being most of our content. And the other point that I'd like to make, Mr. Chair, because it is important, is that most of that content is actually going to be coming from overseas. That New Zealanders will end up watching, because the content that is being produced here will be less, because the television channels are driven by commercial imperatives, and therefore, and particularly Television New Zealand, which is being required to return a particular dividend back to the government, has to find programs that it can get a commercial return on. Therefore, the quality programs that reflect the distinctive Kiwi sense of humour, the Fred Daggs, the Lynn of Tawas, the David McPhails.
Sue Kedgley.
Thank you very much, and I would like to